me gorillas. And what have we got today? Oh, sorry, I was going to do this last night, but time ticked away. Let me just make sure everything's correct on this podcast. Honestly, I swear, man, you have to check everything. Reform plans, pivotal Conservative Party. Right, here we go. Can't even get onto your own bloody thing. Right, here we go. Let's just make sure we're actually operational here. Right, here we go. Let's just make sure we're actually operational here. Sounds good, looks good, not bad. Let me see if I can adjust this slightly. I think I'll move it this way a wee bit. And that looks better. So, we're in. So I thought I would bring up this unholy story of Carol Benjamin being attacked for an off-color joke again. And I'd set up, you can see I'd set up all the Twitter pages at the right page for each one, so I could just seamlessly transition into each one of them. Except for some reason, Twitter has decided to randomly change all the pages that I had set up, so I'm now going to have to individually look through them again to find the thing that I was wanting to talk to you about with regards to this story. So my preparation has been thrown into chaos as per usual. But we will have a wee look at this story and understand why Carol Benjamin of the LotusEaters.com is being besmirched again. And what I believe is the underlying motivation behind this, which I don't think is just because of Liz Truss. I think it's because of a deeper issue, which I've already addressed. I addressed at the time when she was when she just resigned, after she had just resigned. In fact, I need to actually find this. So again, not allowing me to get on to my own content. Nigel's blown up all over the place. Obviously, we covered it yesterday. So let's go for the content and see if I can find this. I think it was a live stream. Let's see if we can get some of these. And because Carol and the Lotus Eaters are a bigger organisation than we are just now, his ability to resonate with what I'd already said spoke volumes. Now, it wasn't Carol who conducted the interview, but obviously Carol is ultimately the owner of the company. And this is what I said.
You're watching Auto Trader. Here's why you need to subscribe. The Auto Trader YouTube channel has...
This is what I said a year ago. So you can see that this was obviously suppressed, 74 views. Nice one, brother. That's the comments here for those that listened. But this is me commenting on exactly why I think the reason that Carol got so much heat, apart from probably him going on stage with TR over the weekend. But I think that's not the reason he got the heat. And I'm going to try and walk you through the explanation of what I think was the underlying reason, not the reason that the media gave you. So let me try and walk you through it. So the media have now caused a storm. Oh, you should be talking to Carol Benjamin. Carol Benjamin's a lovely fella. He's a proud, I think, German man or something like that. English. And he's getting a lot of heat from the press down there for making a spicy joke at the expense of Jess Phillips, who, let's be honest, is the retard's retard. She's the pinnacle of intellectual abandonment. Angela Rayner. I mean, the doughballs. This is what we've got to look forward to over the next period of time. Like Diane Abbott. I mean, it's just very thick individuals. It's not the fact that they're women. I know in my own personal life, highly intelligent women, and these aren't it. And yet these people have got seats in a very limited, 650 people is not a lot for the whole population of Britain. And these thick individuals have got seats in Parliament just to moan. I mean, it's just moaning. At this point, we've got professional whingers and moaners, not that actually implementing any progressive in the normal sense, not progressive in the communist sense, policies. So Haggis UK has screenshotted this. Let's
okay.
So this is today 4 from the doughballs at the BBC, hopefully soon to be privatised, moaning about Carol. And I said to Carol as well, Carol should just put the lotuseaters.com in any commentary that he gives, any statements he gives to the press, to just maximise the exposure he gets for the Lotus Eaters. That's quite funny. Free advertising, Carol, good or bad. So, yeah, he did very well. Former Prime Minister. I mean, we've got a lot of leaders, obviously, doing interviews. Carol's got the first Prime Minister, so well done to him and the guys down at Lotus Eaters, a good bunch of fellas. Described as far right now, Carol is actually, from his political compass test, an actual libertarian liberal. Now, he's distanced himself from liberalism. I haven't, but or libertarianism. I haven't distanced myself. I still see myself as a centrist libertarian liberal. He thinks that's the problem. But I would say that that's not. So you want to subscribe to him, it's £3 a shot, or better still go to the Lotus Eaters. I'd said to him he should take the videos, his Sargon of Akkad videos off YouTube. There was hundreds of thousands of views, and the week that was, I think, was his other thing. These were terrific. So I would say to Carol, if he should have a section, because I went to look at one recently, especially weekend at Biden's, and it wasn't there. And I had said to him, because he wasn't getting paid by YouTube, he should take the videos down. Highly popular. He certainly made them and made the Lotus Eaters when he was getting paid for these videos. But I'd like to know where to actually find his Sargon of Akkad. I know he still does Sargon of Akkad uploads from time to time, but I think he should have a repository of his Sargon of Akkads where he can make money from them, and where those of us who are fans of Carol's can go and look at them as well. So if they're on the Lotus Eaters site, and the week that was, and if he's got copies, these are valuable. So I would put them up on either the Lotus Eaters site, or make an individual website of them, Carol, and monetize them yourself, mate, and make some money, because they were very good, and I would like to see them again as well. They were funny, very good. He's taking the piss out the Young Turks when they got elected, was absolutely excellent. And he's a really nice fella, family man, and he's a really nice fella. Now, he's described himself as moving to the right. I'm not sure how his interpretation of moving to the right is yet. We've not had a sit down and a chat, and but I'll be very interested to hear more about his political evolution. As I said, I still see myself as a libertarian liberal, or centrist libertarian, whatever you choose. Some people call it a classical liberal. Carol thinks that liberalism has failed. I would suggest that the globalist social democratic movement had failed, not all liberalism, or certainly not all libertarianism, which I don't think the globalist agenda has been very liberal. It's been illiberal. I think that's what they said on Spiked as well, which is another great newscasting show. So now we've got these authoritarians, right, and Jess Phillips writing in to the Conservative Party to make sure that other people don't go from the globalist hegemony of the uni party, don't go in Carol's shows. Now, I'll go in Carol's show, no problem. I don't have any issues going in Carol's show. I think he's a nice fella. And when you're besmirched, now Carol's already been besmirched in the press before, so you learn how to take it. Once you've got a good besmirching, as you know, I've been besmirched by lies, basically lies, but we'll come to that later on. We'll get them up, don't worry, we'll get them up. We're just teeing them up, like the conversation with Peter the Plonker Smith. He's still being so nasty. I don't know if he's a beta or he's gay. I'm not quite sure what Peter is. A plonker, without a shadow of a doubt. But anyway, the fact is that Carol has been besmirched again in the press, but I think it's now water off a duck's back. He did an excellent speech. I'll see if I can find it at the Tommy Robinson event down in London. And I think that's me said enough. He's a nice fella. Looking forward to seeing him. So now the doughballs at the BBC who think that they should be the monopoly still of information, that we should actually just seize the BBC up in Scotland. If they don't put Scottish people in the board down in London, we should just seize the BBC up here and either keep it. I wouldn't keep it as a... I don't think that there's a relevance there, but BBC Scotland should be under the control of the Scottish Parliament, not Westminster. So, and because it's all the stuff they're pumping out down there's not very good anymore. It's just wokey commie shit. And but these wokey commie shits, authoritarian scumbags, think that they should have the monopoly on information. And they should be, the doughballs in Today 4, whoever they are, nobody obviously listens to it, should be telling former prime ministers where they should, and a bunch of commies in the Labour Party should be telling where other people present their information, or what media groups they should work with and which ones they shouldn't. So we'll make sure that the heat's turned up on the Labour Party on the back of this up here.
Okay, you're talking more broadly about protection of women today. I wonder if you think it. So
let's adjudicate this as well. And I know Carol feels the same because Carol's married as well. Direct threats to MPs should be taken extremely. Direct threats and if it's a direct threat, whether it's a murder or rape threat, unless it's jokey, you can. I've had people say I'll kill you, and I understand it's in a jokey manner. But if it's not in a jokey manner, we've already seen the murder of 2 MPs recently, one by a Muslim and one by somebody who's described as an identity being left. Excuse me. And these people are they could make, I don't know if they were making threats before, but if you're making threats to MP, it should be taken seriously. It should be taken seriously for anyone. Now, we understand that the police are under pressure, but making a threat is worse than saying something spicy. So if you're making a direct threat, that should be taken much more seriously. If you're making rape threats, which is what this was about, Jess Phillips should have gone to the police. And the police should have dealt with the individuals who are making the direct rape threats. That should have been where it worked out. And that should have been the way it goes. Humza Useless was only too keen to make imprison and make criminalise somebody who wasn't threatening him. Who wasn't threatening him, he was just saying things that Humza found unpalatable, and he was criminalised for that. If you're making direct rape and murder threats, that's definitely a crime, and that should be criminalised. And I know Carol feels the same way as well. But what Carol did was make a spicy joke about the fact that Jess Phillips has not made any sort of major contribution to politics, and all she's done, a wee bit like Mary Black, is sat and whined and moaned about things rather than actually making any significant contribution to her time in politics. A bit like the Labour Party and what the Labour Party is going to do, bring in their identitarian left-wing scumbaggery. But these people now think that they have the right. So Jess Phillips, Quasimodo's ugly sister, thinks she's got the right to tell other politicians and other parties what political broadcasters they can and can't use. So we have to crack down on the Labour Party and shame them for their authoritarian scumbaggery.
It is appropriate for any Conservative candidate in this election to appear on a podcast associated with Carl Benjamin, who...
Yeah, it's completely acceptable. It's absolutely ridiculous that you're even asking such a stupid question.
...is the YouTuber who once joked about Jess Phillips.
Well, to be fair, Carol said, I wouldn't even rape you, which was a play and a comedic input on what Jess Phillips had said. Which I understand from Carol's point of view, why he wouldn't rape Jess Phillips, but it's also what feminists have been saying, that young men should be taught that men shouldn't rape women and shouldn't force women to have sex with them, which is a bit strange considering Mohammed was a rapist, and the Labour Party seem quite happy to have people who follow a Mohammedan approach to politics, and knowing that Mohammed had sex slaves and was a rapist, but they're quite happy to have these people in the political party. So it doesn't really make sense from a political point of view how you can actually juxtapose these two positions, unless what you're saying is that white men shouldn't rape, but it's okay for members of a child rapist death cult, which is Islam, to rape women, which seems to fit in line with the fact that you've covered up. So it seems quite strange that the woman complaining about rape doesn't want an inquiry done on the Muslim rape gangs that have happened all over the UK that the Labour Party have been covering up. That's quite strange, isn't it? Let's have a wee look at GB.
To earn $1,000 today and then $1,000 per day? Several times to reject the motion. Seeing an independent grooming gangs inquiry in Oldham is now finally underway. The council's Labour group agreed to support an inquiry after losing overall control of the...
Oh, right, so they had to lose control. As the Labour Party had to lose control because it was supporting Muslim paedophile child mass rape gangs. All in their constituency, but yet horsey face, nobody would rape her. Jess Phillips wasn't prepared to say anything about these. I've never heard Jess Phillips moan about the Muslim child rape gangs all over the UK. She hasn't said anything about that. She hasn't said anything about people who follow a religion that advocates for sex slavery, paedophilia. She hasn't said that they're in her party. She hasn't said anything about that either. So that's quite... But Carol Benjamin's the problem, right. I'm going to call bullshit in that. And the Jess Phillips, like the Labour Party, are full of scumbags.
Council in the local elections recently. This comes after the former Labour-led council voted several times to reject the motion in recent years.
So when Muslims are raping non-British children, when Pakistani Muslims, and because Islam's a pro-rape culture of non-Muslims, the Labour Party, the filthy scum in the Labour Party will cover it up, just like what I'll go on to with the Chris Donald's statue, and also the people that are getting attacked in Glasgow, that the scumbags in the Labour Party are covering up for again.
Years. Well, joining us now is the independent Oldham councillor Brian Hoban, who has campaigned tirelessly to make sure the town will face a full independent public inquiry into its historic grooming.
And the reason that this has been covered up, it's coming from the top, it's coming from Keir Starmer, it's coming from Gordon Brown, and coming from the globalist, all the globalist shills who allowed the mass immigration, allowed the mass rapes, and are still taking their orders from Baldy Dr. Evil and Davos. All of these people should have been kicked out of the country. Gang
and child sexual exploitation scandal. Thanks for joining us on the show, Brian. Absolute pleasure to have you on. This is sterling work. Can you please tell us why you believe this inquiry is so overdue?
Well, Martin, as you've alluded to, we've tried for the last 5 years to get this public inquiry. We had the review by the Mayor of Manchester that we didn't feel went deep enough. So the Fails of Independent Party team have pushed for this for 5 years, trying to get to the truth, trying to get people made accountable for what has gone on and what.
And it should be called groom gang, Muslim child rape gangs, because obviously the Mohammed was raping Aisha when she was only 9. So it's a paedophilic pro-rape cult. Mohammed talked about having sex with not just Maria the Copt, who was a sex slave, but also went to rape captive women as well.
What may still be going on in the borough.
And Brian, we've seen in other towns across Britain the devastating results of inquiries. What sent at the red?
Yeah, and it's basically the Labour Party facilitated that, and horsey face Jess Phillips didn't mention it. She's more worried about Carol Benjamin saying he didn't want to rape her or wouldn't even rape her. Because obviously Jess Phillips was not prepared, like all the other scumbag Labour parties, to talk about the actual proper crimes that have happened under the Labour Party.
Flags to you, Brian. You're a councillor, you speak to locals, you know what's going on the ground. We all know how so often those in power have turned a blind eye. What alerted you locally to the fact this had to be pressed ahead with?
The contact from survivors, Martin. I've been speaking to survivors, as I say, for the last 5 years, and it's them that have drove us, and it's them that will now drive this.
And this should be called, it's a pro-rape, so I don't know how you would continue to have like mosques in the UK, because it's intrinsic to a rapist religion like Islam, and it's a pro-rape. It's not a feminist religion, it's a pro-rape, pro-paedophilia, and why would you build mosques and all that to these paedophiles and child rapists and rapists that actually advocates right back from Muhammad? That's why sex slavery was in the Barbary Coast, the East African coast, the slave trade, the Turkish slave trade in Europe, and the Arab slave trade when it was hitting southern Europe as well. Because it's intrinsic to the religion, the cult.
Push for this independent inquiry. We have had a meeting today with some of the survivors, and they're very happy with what we're doing. They're comfortable with what we're doing, and the plan that the Fails of Independent Party are pushing and moving forward. And we've had a very good meeting today, and they will be involved now every step of the way to get this inquiry underway and to get really down to the bottom of it.
And Brian, first of all, I'd like to extend the severe respect to those individuals for coming forward. It takes the most incredible bravery to put yourself on the line like that. So please make sure that message is passed on behalf of myself and all of GB News viewers. But can you give us some of the details, without going to specifics, of the types of things you've been hearing that may have happened in Oldham historically. We've heard horrendous things from other towns. What kind of things have leapt to your attention, Brian?
It's very similar, Martin. It's horrendous when you sit down with these survivors and hear the in-depth details of these stories. Every one of them is heartbreaking and disgusting, and to think that there may be people out there that have covered this up and facilitated it, that for them...
Yeah, Jess Phillips and the Labour Party.
We need to get to the bottom of this now.
And Brian,
they're the main drivers for this now.
And Brian, we've heard so often historically about a fear of tackling this by the police, by those in power, by council.
Because the Labour Party were facilitating it, and Jess Phillips, because she never mentioned any of that.
This was by everybody, because this fear of being called racist. In terms of the demographics, the makeup of the offender profile and the victim profile, does it mirror...
There were all the Muslims that Tony Blair let in the last time.
...what was seen across other northern towns?
Parts of it does mirror it, Martin, but I think we need a wider scope on that. We cannot have any tunnel vision into any kind of demographic. Our plan for this inquiry is for the scope to be as wide as possible, as deep as possible, and to go as far back as possible. And that's what the survivors are asking us to do. And the survivors have got the confidence in the Failed Independent Party councillors now to push this forward.
And Brian, it would seem astonishing to many people listening and watching to this now to even countenance the idea of such an inquiry being blocked by councillors. Why? Why was it blocked?
Well, that's something that these people will have to answer themselves, Martin. We can only surmise the reasons for their blockage. The same way that it was blocked before in Rotherham and it was blocked in Telford, until somebody actually stands up.
All Labour Party, all the Labour Party that Jess Phillips represents, it was all blocked by the Keir Starmers and the Gordon Browns and the Tony Blairs. The Labour Party allowed the mass rapes of British children by Muslim paedophile gangs all over the UK, and then covered up and refused to let the police investigate it. That's what Jess Phillips did. For
a team stand up and put the fight to them, that's a question. That's something they will have to live with. Hopefully, the inquiry will unearth any reasons behind that and any issues that are behind that have prevented this from happening earlier.
And Brian, we've seen in other inquiries, as you said, in Rotherham, in Telford, across many other industrial towns in Britain, the results of those inquiries led to criminal charges, led to prosecutions, to...
It's the Labour Party that should be prosecuted. This is because Islam is a book of war, the people who are being violated is against the legislation on human rights, what's the word I'm looking for? When you actually conduct war, you're not meant to be raping children and women and children. So it's against that human rights that the Labour Party has facilitated. So this has been facilitated by the Labour Party, and yet she's complaining about going on Carol Benjamin's show. The Labour Party and the members of the Labour Party could be prosecuted under international law.
Gangs to
for facilitating the Muslim rapists abuse, a wide-scale abuse of British children.
Individuals, do you think that's the direction of travel of the Oldham inquiry? Is this, do you believe, does it need to end in people being prosecuted and put in jail for what they did?
Yeah,
that's got to be.
Yeah, Jess Phillips and the whole of the Labour Party.
That's got to be at the end of this tunnel, Martin. There's got to be people made accountable, people arrested. However the law comes against them, that has got to happen. There is no point going to all the trouble of having this inquiry without it having that kind of ending where the people are brought to book, however they've been involved, whether they are perpetrators or facilitators or just people that turn a blind eye. It all needs to be out in the open before we can even think of moving forward.
And Brian, can I ask you how helpful the local police have been? We've heard historically the police, again, in some instances, have been a part of the issue. They'd rather ignore the problem, put their head in their sand and hope it goes away. Now that you're finally approaching the position of official recognition for this inquiry, are the police being helpful?
Well, we're at a very early stage, Martin. We're setting the stall out now and hopefully making the right steps to get this inquiry right. We will obviously...
And they should be deported. But because the Labour Party are facilitators of this crime, they won't be.
We have to bring in outside agencies, whether they're the local ones or whether we have to go further afield. But I am sure that with this push now and with it being so open and so transparent, nobody will be able to hide anymore.
Well, Brian Hoban, I want to thank you on behalf of myself and GB News for the work you're doing here. It's incredible stuff. It's so important that we give a voice to these survivors and allow them to get their chance at justice. On a personal level, you must be feeling very proud. I know it's not about you, but you must be feeling proud. This is what you're elected to do. This is what councillors should be doing.
Yes, but I don't want it to be me, Martin. It's been a team effort by me and the colleagues, and we all feel proud now. The Fells of Independent Party team feel really, really proud that we've got to this point, and we take no glory in it. As I say, we will work now. We will facilitate whatever them survivors want. It does give us an element of pride that we are part of it and the survivors are trusting us to take this forward. But in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to be in this position, Martin, would we? So...
OK. Well, thanks again for your work, Brian Hoban, and we'll endeavour to give our full...
No, it's going to continue because Islam's a pro-rape ideology that you've now facilitated throughout the UK. So it's going to continue because Muhammad was a rapist and he had sex slaves. So how are you going to stop that? Because the ideology is already out there. And you're saying that any criticism of this child rapist death cult is Islamophobic. You've got, or the murderous aspects of the child rapist death cult is Islamophobic, which means you're not allowed to criticise a child rapist death cult, which doesn't make sense. It should be disgusting. You should not allow anybody that follows this, absolutely any Muslims, any gross individuals who follow this. They should be like Nazis, they should be, or communists, they should be shunned. But let's go back to this snowball on Today 4. So again, Jess Phillips should report these just as anybody else should report any threats of violence against them, and the person should be prosecuted. That more than hurty words. I'm not hate speech. I don't care if somebody's hateful towards you. That's completely acceptable. If somebody's making direct threats, then you should go to jail.
The Labour MP saying he wouldn't even rape her because...
But that's what feminists have been asking men to say for years. That's exactly what they've said. Men should, you should be teaching your sons not to rape women. So Carol Benjamin is basically taking the feminist line of not men teaching their sons not to rape women and said that I wouldn't even rape you. So that's actually the feminist almost direct quote from feminists that they've been moaning about, oh, I wouldn't even rape you, I wouldn't even rape you. That's what they've been saying. Teach your sons not to rape, teach your sons not to rape. That's what they've basically been saying, without holding any accountability to their own actions. But I'll come back to that in a later date. So that's basically, he's basically turned round what the feminists wanted to say and stuck it back at Jess Phillips. But Jess Phillips is a bit too thick to take that on board.
Let's be honest, nobody's got that much beer.
Now that's very funny. That is very funny because it's close to the truth.
I don't think that those comments are appropriate, but it's not for me.
Who cares? Oh, we're going to set up the appropriate police. Oh, wait a minute, and I'll just go down to BBC Today 4 to make sure I'm appropriate with them. Get bent.
To say who can or who cannot appear on a podcast.
Oh, well, you can if you're a bunch of commie Stasi pricks like we've got in Hollywood as well. They're just filthy Marxist scum as well. They think the Scottish police are the Stasi now as well. So now we've got these scumbags that we're paying their wages for, and the BBC telling people what is and what's not appropriate, and who they can and can't talk to, what other media outlets they find acceptable. Get bent.
That I've never heard of.
You never heard of this with Jess?
I don't know.
Oh no, a joke, another spicy joke. Oh no, let's analyse it to the 10th degree to make something out of it. But forget the Muslim child rape gangs that are actually mass raping children and grooming them. Forget that. That does not matter. It's hurty words. Hurty words. That's what matters.
Well, I think I've spelt out exactly what was involved. Carl Benjamin
Yes,
is
you
the...
have.
No, and let's make a big issue out of it. Oh, no, he didn't say he wouldn't rape somebody. Oh, no. Oh, he's definitely far right. Yes, far right as it comes. All us in the left are all up for Muslims raping kids and not talking about it, and we'll do the same on Channel 4 as well.
Person
but
involved.
as
He
I
has a
said,
platform, and Liz Truss, your former Prime Minister and current Conservative candidate, has appeared on the podcast associated
I'm
with
sure
him. Do you
there
think
are many
that's
people,
in line with the
including
protection
people at
of
the
women?
BBC, who have said inappropriate things. It is not for me to start
Talking about someone
legislating
who's
or
standing
declaring
for
who
election,
should or who
standing.
Somebody standing for election. Well, this happened about 5 years ago, but it's well seen you're bringing it up just now, and I'll go on to tell you what I believe the underlying reason is.
For
should not
election
go
for your party.
on a podcast. I have said that those comments are inappropriate. That
Oh no, not inappropriate comments. Oh no. Oh no.
That is what matters. But we do not yet live in a society where we're going to ban people from going to speak.
Well, I think that's what the BBC, when we're paying their fucking wages, that they want to ban people from actually talking to certain periodicals. Or you can only view the BBC, and if we bring you on board, well, we'll forcibly take your money to pay for a shit fucking TV channel.
On media shows.
Is it appropriate for a Conservative candidate?
Is it appropriate? Oh, I don't know. Is it appropriate? Maybe not in Leafy Hampstead, but it might be appropriate in Glasgow. Have you ever thought of that? We're paying your wages as well. So what you find appropriate down there might not be exactly the same as what we find appropriate up here. So we'll decide what's appropriate, and yeah, it's appropriate. So what you got to do now? I'll tell you what to do. We'll stop paying our TV licence fee, and then you can decide what you find appropriate, and then you can just deal with it down there. We'll just take down the BBC channels up here, and then you can appropriate yourself. How about that?
That was my question. In line with your part, with your pledge on the protection of women.
Well, it should be a protection on free speech. I don't see how this was not protecting women, considering he said he wouldn't rape her. But if it was maybe different, he would. But why has she not reported all the threats anyway? Or maybe she has, but we've not heard about it. And why is she not protected? If she's talking about the protection of girls and women, why is she not the scumbags in the Labour Party not done inquiries across all of the Labour constituencies where the Muslim child rape gangs have been going on? Why have they not done that? Aye, we all know the reason, because they're scumbags.
As I said, Michelle, this has nothing to do with the protection of women. This has to do with freedom of
It's nothing to do with the fact that they've not done any inquiries either, is it?
speech and people saying things that we may believe are appropriate or inappropriate. I said I don't.
Who's the appropriate guru? Are we going to go to an ombudsman of appropriateness? Oh, there's got to be a lot of Scots in jail. Oh, you've been inappropriate. How Orwellian? How in 1984 can you potentially get that you've got to go to the BBC to decide what is appropriate and what's not appropriate?
I don't think those comments are inappropriate, but I actually think it is quite wrong for BBC presenters to be deciding which shows candidates should be.
Well done, Kemi, yeah. Who the fuck are you to tell people who they should and shouldn't be going? You're getting shilled by the force of individuals to pay you and listen to your bullshit channels.
What we should be looking at is what
the Women's Minister. That's what I'm wondering, if whether.
Why don't you get in the morning and find out why Labour Party overlooked all the mass rapes of children by Muslim child rape gangs? Why don't you do that? That's actually a direct effect on women, not this crap. Oh, no, Carl Benjamin said something a bit risky. Oh, better get the Minister for Women on. But forget the mass rapes by the Muslim kiddie fiddlers.
You think it's appropriate for a Conservative candidate?
I've answered the question. Carl Benjamin is not standing for election. Liz Truss is. It is for her constituents to decide whether she's done a good job or not. It is not for you.
Well, I think Liz Truss has certainly gone up in my estimations. Again, I think Liz Truss is potentially a shoe-in for getting re-elected, even though it was a bit of a disaster. But we'll come on to why I think this is in a minute. I'm now going to have to search Twitter because of this.
You, or me for that matter, to decide which shows she should be able to go on because the presenter may have said something.
I mean, what a bunch of fascists in the BBC to think that they've got the right to tell MPs and politicians what shows they can and can't go on. I mean, really, talk about overstepping the mark. I would sack every one of the main individuals who are running the BBC on the back of this.
Inappropriate before. We've had lots of scenarios of BBC presenters saying things that are inappropriate. I don't know about this show. I don't know what he said. And I don't like making comments on things like that I don't know. I think it is trivial. It is unsafe.
Yeah, well, what's not trivial is the Labour Party covering up, like Tony Blair and Keir Starmer and Gordon Brown covering up the mass rapes of children in the Labour constituencies by Muslim child rapists, rape gangs, who they facilitated getting in and then they facilitated covering it up. I would say that is actually almost a war crime, and they should actually be put on trial for that.
Serious. I am here talking about what we are doing to protect vulnerable women. What someone said on a podcast, I don't even know who this person is immaterial to the policies that we're putting forward for this election.
I mean, talk about overstepping your mark. Misha Hussain, is it appropriate for Tory candidate Liz Truss to appear on a podcast? Misha Hussain, well, is it appropriate to have a religion that rapes children and women and kills, stones to death women who have been for infidelity, kill homosexuals, kill atheists, kill anybody else that's not part of the child rapist death cult? Is that appropriate, Misha? Who's joked about not raping, not even raping Jess Phillips? Yes, well, that's where the feminist message has been for years. Yeah. So that's basically the feminist message. Tell your children not to rape women. That is exactly what they said.
You're talking more broadly about protection.
So let's get rid of that. Let's see. So this is ex-British military Paz 49.
A row has erupted on X, formerly Twitter, between Cal Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad of the Lotus Eaters podcast, and Labour MP Jess Phillips. Now
Paz is going to put out what this is meant to be, the sort of cover story for this. But I think there's a deeper story. And don't forget, it's Carol's podcast, but he didn't do the interview with Liz Truss. The interview was conducted quite well. And I'll now have to find the clip again and go through, but I'll be able to get it. But it's just going to be more disjointed than I wanted it to be. But Paz is going to set down the overview of what the British public's take of this is. But what there is a sub-take on this that no other commentators talked about, and I'm going to debrief you. I'd already talked about it a year ago, and I'm going to debrief you on what that take is.
This is round two, because round one happened a few years ago during a general election when Cal Benjamin stood as a UKIP candidate.
So she's moaning about something that happened 5 years ago, and she just brought it up for political expediency now again for no apparent reason other than the fact that people look at what she's done and she's a doughball and she's a shit MP, that she's probably got nothing really going for her as an MP, and she's crap.
And when he was asked about something that Jess Phillips has said about him, he replied with, and I quote, "I wouldn't even rape her," unquote. Now, I was on YouTube back then. It was when I was starting out, and I made videos about this, and I believe I was correct, still to this day, when I said that it was quite a stupid thing to say. Whether he was joking or not, Jess Phillips...
Yeah, I think it was quite edgy, but it's what I agree with Paz from this point of view. In politics, it's very difficult to joke politically incorrectly. And I know what Carol was trying to do. He was trying to crack a deliberate politically incorrect joke at this point. But it's you have to be very careful in politics not to joke. Jess Phillips is a joke, but that's different from actually trying to crack a joke, because what they've done is take things out of context that it's not a joke, a bit like what they did with Count Dankula, because a lot of these people are autistic creatures and they don't actually take things literally, and they don't know what's a joke and what's not a joke. So they're able to manipulate something that's quite clearly a joke. It's not even a joke. It's actually what the feminists have been saying right from the start. So, but these autistic creatures can actually do it. But as I said, Jess Phillips' time as a politician has been a joke, and she's still there.
The Labour Party, the mainstream media, they all weaponised it against him, and it was all over for his political career. For a while, he was known as the guy who made that joke. Now, if you're going to become a politician, you've got to be careful with your words, because your words are magic. So anyway, fast forward to present day, 2024, and the pair of them are at it again, and again it's Jess Phillips who initiated it. Now, she wrote a letter to Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, telling him to deselect Liz Truss as a Tory MP because of her imminent appearance on Carl Benjamin's Lotus Eaters podcast.
So again, everybody thinks you're a clown anyway, Jess. It's not the fact that anybody's gets you in high regard as an MP. You're the white equivalent of Diane Abbott, a complete non-entity politically, and done nothing. I failed to see any great riveting speeches. It's obvious that the bar has had to be lowered on a political on a political competence base to facilitate diversity, because you wouldn't make the grade. There's millions of people in the UK who would be ahead of you as a politician, and it's gobsmacking to me that you managed to actually stay this long. Because you're absolutely a non-entity politically. But anyway, that's by the by. What did Paz say? Let's just go back in.
On Carl Benjamin's Lotus Eaters podcast. And here's the letter here. I don't know why it's so dark.
Yeah, so the fact is that Jess Phillips has decided that she should be dictating again, like the BBC, these quasi-Stasi-esque individuals think that they should be dictating what media companies should be going on and on. Who cares what Jess Phillips thinks? She's a clown.
But that's how it was posted on Jess Phillips' X account. And this letter is full of lies, misinformation, and a character assassination. Yeah. Of course, Carl Benjamin immediately defended himself.
Jess Phillips is a horrible, horrible individual. It's not, out of the two of those, it's her that's the problem, not Carl Benjamin.
Rightly so. Because members of Parliament simply cannot get away with writing such libel and blatant misinformation as well. Yeah. That he had to call her out.
Sure, Carol, get a lawyer, get a funding, we'll all chip in, and sure.
Out on it. And she hasn't even deleted it, even though the whole letter is just utter hogwash. The left go on about misinformation, but the biggest peddlers of misinformation on earth
is the left, and they don't even take responsibility for that. The actions have happened, the actual physical harm to women and girls, the Muslim child rape gangs that they brought into the country under Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, the doughball, squint eye, big ears, Tony Blair, and the Lispy guy, Sir Keir Starmer, the man of the working man, has done and facilitated and all of their constituencies across the UK.
Are the left. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't expect anything less from Jess Phillips. She is another Angela Rayner, someone who's well above their station.
There you go, I just said that. I said it 2 minutes ago, and Paz has just agreed. Totally a non-entity. Angela Rayner and Jess Phillips shouldn't be there. They're just not up to it.
In life, a complete foul-mouthed fishwife who brings disrepute to Parliament every time she opens her mouth. Even the left-wing, bigotry-infested LBC radio station, they went along with it before deleting their tweet. And this letter makes vile reading. It really does. First of all, she called him an extreme far-right commentator.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Carol's a libertarian liberal. I think if there's any extreme, it's horsey face here.
Carl Benjamin isn't far-right. People like Jess Phillips like to use the term far-right. in order to demonise people and make them look like Hitler.
Yeah.
That's why they do
and,
it.
And they're all saying, "Oh, we're into love and understanding." We'll just we'll just put all the stuff that the left say about racism and everything else, and criminalise that and put that under hate speech, and then put them in jail for up to 7 years. See how you like that?
And then she said he had despicable views about violence against women.
Well,
No,
you don't seem very bothered about the Muslims' violence against women, do you? You seem to keep that quite stum, Jess, eh? Don't say anything about that.
doesn't. The guy has a wife and child. And by the way, Cal Benjamin,
Children.
back in that general election when he was a UKIP candidate, he responded the way he did because Jess Phillips laughed at the suicide rates amongst young men here in Britain.
Yeah, I know another scumbag like that, Eva Santori, man, honestly. Obviously, you know, I've lost friends to suicide, and that scumbag and that Eva Santori that Lawrence Fox derided correctly on TV, and then they all complained, it's Lawrence Fox the problem. It's these scumbags, her, and that other scumbag, left-wing scumbag, MPs and news hacks, they're the problem. And the fact that they're laughing at male suicide, I think any suicide is a problem. I've had females that have died as well. So it's not just male suicide, although I have lost male friends as well. But, yeah. It's absolutely heartless individuals like these scumbags. They should be sacked. They shouldn't be allowed on the TV.
And amongst other twaddle she wrote on this
Well,
letter.
no, in fact, they should be allowed on the TV. I'm just getting as bad as them for their heartless. But I mean, they should be derided for their absolutely heartless scumbaggery, like that. Even Santori or whatever her name is. Which she got stupid. I think her name's Evans.
She claimed that Cal Benjamin recently launched the group Hearts of Oak with far-right thug Tommy Robinson. Well, neither Benjamin nor Robinson have anything to do with Hearts of Oak. And it was nothing that was launched recently.
So just more lies by the Labour Party. It's because they can't stand up in their own record, because everybody knows they're a bunch of clowns.
And besides, she never appeared on a podcast with Cal Benjamin. She appeared with Connor Tomlinson. It's transpired Liz Truss has never been in contact with him, never met him, or never spoken to him. And Connor Tomlinson, according to him, is a Conservative Party member. And they didn't even discuss conspiracies. They talked about her time in government, the polls, the next election, and that's it. So there we go.
Paz just missed out the most important thing that they talked about, that I think that this whole firestorm may have been a smokescreen for, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Jess Phillips told a lie. LBC Radio in London, they broadcast that lie before deleting it and not even bothering to correct themselves. And her
sue them, Carol, sue them.
Post is still up there. The letter's still on X. And will she issue a public apology? Of course not. People like Jess Phillips don't do that. Then again, these people think it's okay for them to lie about people and make themselves out to be the victims when, in fact, they're the perpetrators.
Yeah, she's a scumbag.
The dirty, dirty smear merchants, to quote Cal Benjamin. And there we go. I'm past 49. Thanks for listening, and until the next time, Roger Trout.
She's the facilitator of the Muslim rape gangs. What are you guys saying? Hello, people. Hi, everyone. Yes, Davey, and hello to all. Hiya, buddy. Hi, Davey. Hi, John. How you doing, brother? Hi, John. How you all doing, guys? Your volume compared to the videos is low, is it? Yeah, baby Guerilla, love you. Cheers, Johnny boy. And more qualified than the Chancellor, David Ballantyne. Someone once told me that the things of Labour birds were pure rhyme. I don't know. I thought that's a true or not. John sounds fishy to me. John sounds fishy to me. Yes, Candy it does. Right, that's quite funny. Right, keep commenting and I'll come back to you guys as well. I'm going to crack on. So I've now lost all my track here. I don't know, let me just try and do something here. Right, I'm going to have to, I think I can close all this. This is all not going to work. I'd set out everyone at the right spot to actually get some sort of...
Dear friends, I am...
Some sort of continuity there for you guys, and it's just randomised every open tab, and it's not allowed me to do the things I wanted to do. Anyway, we'll just have to do it this way. So let me take me down. It's going to come out in reverse, so it's not going to come out in the order I wanted either. So there's Middle Eastern fellas on Athens Metro, North Africa's Muslims and Middle Eastern men cause alarm and distress to native Greek women. There have been many incidents of sexual assault and rape. Well, if you've got a rapist for a profit, then, and it's been facilitated by your political class, then you've got issues there, haven't you? There's Islam for you. Teacher was whipped by Taliban terrorists because he dared to teach Afghan girls. That's the future. I'll shout out to this guy as well. This is for you, Hugh O'Donnell. And just a wee quick...
Just walking down the Vicky Road early in the morning, seeing what the charity shops have got, just checking out the flyers as well, see what's happening. Oh, this one really caught my attention. Glasgow City Council, crack and heroin zone. We've got it in Gaelic as well for our Gaelic speaking community, which I would say is less than 1%. Use of crack and heroin is permitted in this area. Just what Gavin Hill needs, man.
Big shout out to you for doing that. Oh, here we go. Is that the same one? Let's just try this one. So let me get this up in a different...
I'm not saying that this thing can't exist. I'm not saying that Liz Truss can't go on it. I am saying that maybe there should be a standard for Conservative Party members of Parliament and candidates for the election.
Well, maybe there should be candidates for the standard and quality of MPs in the Labour Party, because it seems like there's just a bunch of donuts.
That Rishi Sunak is in charge of, that should disbar somebody who did do that.
Well, so Jess Phillips wants to disbar people for going on media that she doesn't agree with. What a scumbag. You might as well paint a wee Hitler moustache on her, and she gets to, Jess Phillips, the dough-ball, gets to decide who people talk to and who people don't. And the Conservative Party, not even her party, but she's now dictating who somebody else, some other MP or former First Prime Minister, what ones that she finds acceptable. Get bent.
Do you have any idea whether or not Liz Truss is going to go ahead with this interview?
I have absolutely no idea. Nobody has been in touch with me since I wrote and publicly announced the letter this morning. I get the impression from the...
So we haven't read the actual letter. We may or may not get back to that later, but if it was salacious or corrupting, I would sue her. Carol, if I was in your shoes.
I've seen for it that it might have already been done and they're just releasing it today, but I don't know.
Right, OK. Let's talk a little bit then about your own experience with this man, Carl Benjamin, back in 2019. What happened?
Oh no, somebody cracked an edgy joke that I took really seriously. And,
So, I mean... I had been talking about...
she wasn't bothered at the time until she could get political mileage out it. That was the only thing that happened.
About how women...
She's still dining out in it.
...face terrible threats and abuse and...
Well, they should go to the police and the police should prosecute those that are threatening and abusing them. That's what they should do. But don't cover up the fact you were laughing about male suicide as well, Jess, you scumbag.
Online, I think I'd been speaking specifically about how often for female MPs or women online generally, that the abuse and threats they get are ones that are of sexual...
But why don't you just go to the police? I mean, if somebody's threatening you sexually, if somebody's saying and making an actual direct threat, why don't you go to the police? Nobody's going to say that you shouldn't go to the police if you're getting direct threats of violence and rape or threats of murder or attack. You should go to the police. Everybody here, including myself, says that you should go to the police and get it sorted out. We all agree with that. But that's not what Carol was saying. And Carol was mocking you because you were mocking men that had committed suicide because you're a scumbag.
Violence.
But you're not prepared to do inquiries into actual mass rapes of British children by Muslim, Pakistani usually, but by Muslim child rape gangs throughout the UK. In fact, you actually, not you personally, but your party covered them up for years, and allowed it to happen. So you weren't really bothered when there was an actual thing. It's just when your hurty fifis get hurt.
I have suffered that many times, people threatening to rape me in all sorts of different and awful ways.
And that's why Carol really couldn't believe it, to be brutally honest. That's why he said there's not enough alcohol, because nobody can really believe that, Jess. But I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying you should have reported that at the time and done it at the time. If that had happened, do it at the time and report it. Nobody's saying that. That's a police matter. You should report it. But why are we being sympathetic to you when you're not sympathetic to men that want they've killed themselves? Why is your fifis more important than actual crimes or actual suicides? People make salacious. I take it nobody's actually followed through any of these threats, but make salacious threats.
Ways.
You should join Humza Useless. Humza Useless is only bothered when his fifis are hurt, not actually the proper underlying crimes.
And it became sort of there was a famous thing called Gamergate where there were some women where a bunch
of feminists were trying to a bunch of commie feminists were trying to corrupt games that people were quite happy with for their own pleasure, for their own discretion, to try and communise these games.
Terrible thing had happened online, so it was a sort of phenomenon that was happening at the dawn of the sort of social media.
It was a reaction to a bunch of commies trying to push the commie agenda. That's what it was.
They talked about it, and this man, who I had no knowledge of at all, under a pseudonym on...
Well, you'd already laughed at male suicides, just like Eva Santori or whatever her name is.
Online, sort of started what became a sort of complete dogpile on me. But he said that, he basically was like, I wouldn't even rape Jess Phillips, as if...
Which is exactly the line used by feminists, what they say, that we should teach our sons not to rape women. That's the feminist line. He's obviously taking the piss clearly out you. But what you don't do is say that Muslim men shouldn't follow a religion that advocates raping children. That's what you should say, but you've not got the guts because you're a scumbag.
Being raped is a prize. And then it was just...
That's what he's saying. He's saying that you're not a prize. You're not a prize. That's a dig at you. He's saying that you're not... Even if he was drunk, he wouldn't want to have sex with you. That's what he's saying. In a nutshell, it's not a prize. He was making a clear dig about your looks or the lack thereof.
It started like a dog pile, like I say, of just hundreds and hundreds of people talking about all the different ways that they wouldn't rape me.
Right, so that's the background. Little wonder then that you're not keen on Lotus Eaters. I absolutely get it. But
do you get the fact of why men who, like myself, who have lost friends through suicide aren't really keen on her? Do you get that, Times Radio? Or is that beyond you? In your wee bubble down there.
It seems as though you were right, Jess Phillips, and the interview has been done and indeed been released to so-called premium members of Lotus Eaters. I mean, there is no evidence...
Go and sign up to Lotus Eaters. It's on YouTube as well. Go and subscribe. It's a great channel. Fantastic. Don't listen to these harpies.
At all to suggest that Rishi Sunak is a man who would support some of the ideas that are exhibited on Lotus Eaters.
No, I don't.
Oh, no. It's not like the left haven't killed 100 million people. You've got the Labour Party put up a statue to Frederick Engels, who advocated for genocide with him and that doughball Marx. You got the Labour Party put a statue to this scumbag whose ideology killed 100 million people in Manchester. No, you wouldn't do anything like that. Oh, no. But Lotus Eaters are the problem.
I don't have any reason to believe that, no.
So what has he replied to your letter?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Get the lawyers out and reply to her letter and tell her that it's defamation. You're going to sue her.
No, I mean, to be fair to him, he's out on the campaign trail and he only sent it at about 10 o'clock this morning, so we'll...
He's not on the campaign channel. As far as I'm aware, Carol's not standing. As far as I know, obviously it's not shut and he probably could stand, but it'd be funny if he stood against her. It's funny he stood against her.
I'll give him some time. But if for me, I will get told that this is censorship because these people are free speech.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We all know that you're a bunch of Marxist, commie scumbags, authoritarian scumbags, and we're prepared to say things that you don't like because we know that you've got no response to free speech. You think your feelings are more important than free speech. I don't care about your hurty feelings. I care about the rape threats because that's a direct threat. That is not free speech if you're making direct threats. That goes beyond the threats, but hurty feelings I'm not bothered about.
Ambassadors, I'm not saying that Liz Truss, I'm not saying that this thing can't exist. I'm not saying...
Yes, you are. You're saying don't go on it. You're saying that people should be banned for going on it. That's exactly what you're saying.
Saying that Liz Truss can't go on it. I am saying that maybe there should be a standard for Conservative Party members of Parliament.
Why would you listen to somebody in the Labour that there should be Conservative standards for what publication or what media group they go into? Why would our actual Conservative Party listen to Labour on standards of where they shouldn't go, an authoritarian Labour Party?
Candidates for the election that Rishi Sunak is in charge of that should disbar somebody who did do that.
Jess Phillips of the Labour Party wants to get the leader of the Conservative Party to disbar people that had made a slightly edgy comment or a funny joke about her 5 years ago, and she wants to disbar them from holding office because she doesn't agree with the guy that made the edgy joke for her against her in the first place. Get fucked.
And for the reasons are that it is a very real problem in politics, and women are leaving politics because of the abuse that they suffer. Fewer women enter politics because of the...
Well, I hope no commie women enter politics. I hope that these communist ideals die, along with if it's just a bunch of commie women that are entering politics. I hope they don't enter politics, because all of you postmodernist Marxist types that have all obviously been indoctrinated haven't contributed jack diddly squat to the political debate over the years, and it's no loss for you leaving. No loss at all. I prefer to replace you with other women. Anybody that wasn't a postmodernist Marxist or authoritarian like yourself, Phillips.
The kind of abuse that women like me suffer, and just the very nature of the sort of misogyny. This man, went into...
It's all the men's fault. Again, not talking about actual crimes where Muslims are raping children, mass raping. They cover that up. That's an actual crime. But hurty words and, that's misogyny, we'll just blame all men, and, men hate women. They don't hate women. They don't like you because you're a doughball. That's just like... what's her face? Diane Abbott and Angela Arena. You're three doughballs. You're not up to being in the position you're in, and that's why you're getting abused, because you're not up to it.
Said that he had set out to target me.
All you do is whine. All you're doing is professional whiners. You're not actually adding to anything to help people's lives or the political discord. All you're being is authoritarian, and you're dictating what should and shouldn't be happening. Nobody's interested in what you think. You made so many mistakes. You made so many bad calls. You're a doughball of a woman. That's why people don't like you, Jess.
I have absolutely no idea. And Liz Truss will have had people. She has people who work for her that before she went on, she would have known that it was the platform created by this man. And if she just Googled his name, almost certainly the first thing that would have.
Oh no, the media that protected you and allowed you to get to the position you're at are criticising people that don't think you're up to it. Oh, wow. Oh no, what a shock, what a story.
Come up would be that this man did this to me.
Right.
And
oh, how did you sleep at night? You were laughing, you were brushing it off when he first said the comment, and now you've decided you can dine out on it now. You can dine out on it. You decided when you first heard it, you were like, oh, who cares? And now 5 years later, you're bringing it up again because you think you can dine out on this. Nobody cares.
So and so she will have done it knowingly. I just want to know whether Rishi Sunak thinks that. Well, I think that she's not fit to be a candidate in the election.
I don't think you're fit to be a candidate in the election. I don't think the Labour Party are fit to be a political entity in the election. It's wall-to-wall clowns. Wall-to-wall clowns. And yet, you clowns are managed to actually going to be elected. And we're going to have a bunch of Cocos Coco the clowns in Downing Street, and with the working man's politician, huh?
For this reason, I want to know if Rishi Sunak agrees with me.
Nobody agrees with you. We all agree that you're an idiot. We all agree that Carol was making a joke and you're an idiot. And Carol should sue you. That's what we agree with. How'd you like those apples?
Interestingly, we've had a WhatsApp message from a listener who says, much to my chagrin, my son came upon the Lotus Eaters podcast during lockdown.
And signed up because you thought it was brilliant.
It's anti-vax, anti-immigration, pro-Trump, everything right-wing. It has indoctrinated my son with views I find...
Well done. Yes! Yes, well done to his son as well. Well done, son. Well done. Yeah, lovely bunch of fellas down there in Lotus Eaters. Don't listen to these shills.
Find hard to stomach. I can't prevent him listening to them as he's in his middle 30s, but I do...
Yeah, seems like a nice fella. Hope I see you, whoever this son is, I hope I see you at a march.
Find it very concerning. So
I'd be more concerned about Jess Phillips because she's an idiot.
Lady just will give listeners an idea of the sort of content that exists on the platform. And of course, there's nothing wrong with having a sensible and reasonable debate about immigration.
Well, they do that all the time. They have reasonable and sensible debates on the Lotus Eaters. So I don't know what your problem is. I don't know what the big deal is. If you're not listening to the London media that nobody really gives a shit about, we shouldn't be, you should be silenced. Oh, right, I see. So if we don't get the Uniparty's approach to the Stasi leafy London approach to Middle England, then we've all to be silenced, have we? I think things are going to change very rapidly. I think you're going to be swept up in the change that is coming.
But it's worth saying, Jess, that I've tried to understand what Lotus Eaters offers, and Carl Benjamin's explanation is that...
Personally, I think the Lotus Eater sounds like a Chinese restaurant, but... Interesting name. I understand why he called it that, but it's definitely as I'm just going down to the Chinese restaurant Lotus Eaters to get a chicken chow mein. I like it though. I think it's a good name. I think it's quite clever.
You can't call Lotus Eaters a hateful platform. A core part of its mission, he says, is to nurture men with chests. That is an audience which loves and appreciates their own country, its history, its culture, and its customs, and understands how our country merits this love.
I'm married to a man with a chest, and I bore 2 children from my womb who are men with chests. And do you know what they don't do? They don't make jokes or threatening.
I'm not surprised they don't make jokes in your house, man. You probably feminised them out there. Oh, no. Are you making a joke, son? I don't really like that one. That's too near the knuckle, isn't it? I'm not going to laugh at that with my autism.
Remarks.
Shelf eliminates odors, shelfie reduces bacteria, shelf increases the shelf life of fruits and vegetables. Shelf.
about rape and raping.
He said he wouldn't rape you, but you were quite happy to laugh at men's suicide. So I guess it's horses for courses, isn't it, Jess?
Women. It's such a base idea that this is what men are looking for. The idea that men.
Well, they're not looking for anything that comes out of your mouth. Absolutely nanty.
Want women to be picked on and bullied.
He wasn't really pricking on you, Jess, was he? You're just being melodramatic here, isn't it? We made a slightly edgy joke and you've decided to dine out in it for 5 years. But as I said, I don't think that this is the underlying. I think this is just dirty smear merchants, as Carol would say. But this isn't where this is going. I'll try and explain to you later in this what the underlying reason is.
They're not good men who feel that way. But it's also just a really people call me these people call me a man hater. Yes, I think you've got to really hate.
Yes, that's exactly right, and that's why he made the off-colour joke, because people think that you're a feminist misandrist. That's exactly right. That's exactly what people think of you. That's exactly right, Jess. I'm a misandrist. While you keep moaning about misogyny every 5 seconds, while not addressing real aspects of misogyny, as I discussed with the Muslim rape gangs, you're quite happy to facilitate that. You're not happy about some guy telling a slightly edgy joke. I was going to say a Philistine. That's not the correct word. You're a phony. You're a fake.
Men to think that this is what they're after.
Yeah, I mean,
but we're quite happy to facilitate Islam, which is the most misogynistic thing in the UK just now.
Truss guilty of extreme naivety, or is she more calculated than that?
Liz Truss was the Prime Minister of our country.
Oh no! Can you imagine this snowball being your Prime Minister? Imagine even put her in cabinet. Oh my God! The fact that she's been elected to me is staggering.
So I think naivety might be a little bit naive of us to think that she wouldn't have had people to look into it. Unlike Liz Truss, I don't have taxpayer paid for.
Oh no! Somebody cracked a joke. Oh, you better get the Stasi round to make sure Jess Phillips' fifis aren't upset. Close it down. Sue them, throw them in jail. What a weirdo.
Security 24 hours a day. So that Liz Truss has a whole office of people who are paid for by the taxpayer.
To make sure Jess Phillips is not an off-collar joke is not affected. Jess Phillips, oh no, that's absolutely terrible. We should put them in jail for the rest of their lives because Jess Phillips' feelings were upset.
Into this sort of thing, so it was calculated.
Yes. I'm surprised you've not done an inquiry into the Lotus Eaters, because we know you're not doing an inquiry into the Muslim child rape gangs that you facilitated throughout the country. You're not doing an inquiry into them. You're covering that up, aren't you, Jess? But you're quite happy. Oh, somebody cracked a joke. God, no.
Liz Truss is grifting for the right-wing dollar for the future. I'm sure you're going to invite her to have a right of reply. That is merely my opinion. Liz Truss just will go like a paper bag in the wind for wherever's good for Liz Truss. And she doesn't care that this has brought back this man into my life again. She doesn't care.
No! What will you do? Oh no, it's so sad. Oh no, the guy cracked a joke. It's unbelievable. Oh no, I've not been able to sleep. I've never seen anybody dine out in a joke as much as this since Count Dankula, funnily enough, in the press moaning about Count Dankula. For all these scumbag authoritarians in the Labour Party, just absolute filthy scumbags.
That she is basically promoting somebody who is...
cracking jokes! No! Not a joke!
Phil, I'd be delighted if she would come on and say otherwise. She looked at this and she thought, I don't care that he has...
Yeah, I don't care that the guys cracked the joke at Jess Phillips' expense, because Jess Phillips a twat.
Done this to female politicians. I'm going on.
Oh no, you're not allowed to crack jokes at female politicians' expense. They're fragile. You shouldn't be in politics. Can't take it. Can't take it. Shouldn't be in.
Anyway, because it's probably got some, I don't know, some grift attached to it that she'll be able to make some cash out of later.
We did ask Liz Truss or a representative to come on the programme, and they are not making any comment. While you're on, though, Jess Phillips, we have got to ask you, you've been talking about the way female politicians are treated or have been treated in the past. What about Diane Abbott and the way she has been treated by the Labour Party?
Another dough ball.
Where are we up to now? I've been...
You're not very good. That's why they're trying to get the Labour Party under Keir Starmer, which kudos to him, trying to get rid of all you donuts. Angela Rayner, try and get rid of all of them. I mean, now, as much as the Labour Party sucks, you can give him slight kudos here, where he's trying to get rid of all these diversity hire women who are just shouldn't be in politics. Moaning about getting criticism, moaning about jokes, that's as bad as it gets.
Been out on doorsteps all day. Where are we up to? Is Diane Abbott allowed to stand now?
Nobody cares. She's not very good. I could get a houseplant and put a houseplant up, it would be better Diane Abbott.
Well, she says she isn't. She says she isn't. Keir Starmer says she can.
Okay, well...
With scribehow.com, you can create SOPs and...
I've had enough of her, man, honestly. It's absolutely pathetic. There we go. Heart attacks become increasingly more common in women under 50. Medical experts can't figure out why. I hate them all. Well done, Liz Churchill. Big shout out to Liz. I need to find it. See, this is... I had it all... place out. There we go. Here's Cal here. I'd like to invite you to be interviewed on Lotus Eaters. Dominic and ask you about actual mechanics of Westminster and for you to explain to us how the system actually works. Unhinged Islamic scholars makes chilling statement about Sharia. I'm going to come back to that later on. So here's I find him hilarious, man. Charlie.
Good morning. So last night in London, East London, 4 people were shot in a drive-by mass shooting. One of them was a child. They're all in intensive care. Didn't even make the top headlines. Jess Phillips, angry female politician, writes to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak asking for Liz Truss, the Prime Minister for a week, to be sacked from the Conservative Party because she dared to interact with prominent right-wing figure Carl Benjamin. Can you imagine being Carl Benjamin and people are writing to the Prime Minister to expel a woman from the party because she dared sit down with you? Ooh, rather than look at the problems facing this country, let's just blame people like Carl for daring to talk about it. Here at the foot of...
So that was Charlie Veitch, Charlie Veitch, Veitch. He's very funny, he does some very funny stuff as well. It's quite funny. So obviously Nigel's back, we covered that yesterday. There's Pride. This is obviously the homophobia that they're suffering. Funny. Absolutely horrible individual. Another horrible individual, Caroline Lucas. Ugh, gags. Now I had this all set up. Everything was perfect. It was in order. Well, here we go. Oh, that's it. That's Carl Benjamin. So we've done that. Covered that one. Hey, look, this is under the Labour Party, because the Labour Party keep covering it up. Can't believe it's disappeared. Where's it gone? No, I think it's continuing down here. Oh, here we go. Here's
brilliant, and I know you're speaking today, so it's going to be a right. I bet it's going to be quite nerve.
This is the Voice of Wales.
Wracking actually, because there's going to be lots of thousands of people here. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good actually. I've been doing this for a long time now, as you can tell by the white beard. So I'm pretty used to it. I know what I'm going to talk about. So that's the only way to succeed is to know what you're doing.
Definitely. And we were just speaking just now about how important today is, and what I've asked Tommy, Danny, and everybody else is people have been doing this for years, a very long time. But this has got a feel of day one. This is the start. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I do think there is. Something has changed in the war, in the air. You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
It's become very apparent that it's the people of Britain versus the globalists, and it's easy to see what side you're on. And look, I see this across many different political philosophies as well, all sort of aligning. And I think really it's actually the kind of looming threat of Keir Starmer that's doing this, because he emphasised it so well. He drew the distinction so well in that interview where he was asked, "Do you prefer Davos or Westminster?" And he was instantly Davos.
Yes.
It's like, look, Westminster's got lots of flaws, but it's our parliament.
Exactly.
It's ours.
Yes.
Davos is not ours, and this is the schism that we can see, and you can see lots of people falling on our side who otherwise wouldn't necessarily be with us. But it's very interesting how lots of different issues have aligned, like the trans issue, the immigration issue, the taxes, everything. Everything is coming together. And it's like, right, so it's either in the interests of the native people of the country or in the interests of foreign peoples and in the interests of foreign governments and foreign powers, the NGO complex, international bodies, whatever it is. We can see that there is the distinction. And this is what it's all about, I think.
Absolutely. And we all know politicians react out of fear, which is why Muslim population is about 7% of the UK, and they fear them and they work for them. If they fear Tommy, and now Tommy's got that platform again, along with everybody else, are they going to start to fear this? Is that a good thing?
Well, I think the thing we have to emphasise is they're going to start suffering electoral issues. As in, there's already a massive loss of confidence and legitimacy in the two-party system at the moment, which is essentially the uni-party. And this is going to unpin Keir Starmer's entire tenure. People will lack confidence because there will be a sort of distinct lack of legitimacy to it. The turnout, I expect, will be quite low. And so if there is a strong electoral voice amongst the British public...
I'm not even commenting. It's the first time I've actually watched this one, and I'm not even commenting because it's really good, and absolutely on the money, on the ball. And this is even this is obviously part of the reason that Carol's been persecuted, and he's correct about this. But he's on the money politically, or with this in the Voice of Wales as well. That is the globalists versus even the individualists, but certainly probably Britain as a whole. So he's certainly on the money with his commentary, and that's why I've not said anything in the last couple of minutes.
That says, look, we are just not happy with becoming a province in the global empire of whatever it is you're doing. Then this can actually, like you say, there will be a current affair, obviously not violence or anything like that, for electoral issues for them in the future, because there are a lot of people who say, well, does democracy really work? It's like, not when it's the two-party system.
No.
If you're voting for a party that's captured, then no, democracy doesn't work. But if we, say, end up forming something that's outside of that consensus that people can select on the ballot, then that will make them afraid, because ultimately it actually still does decide who gets to pull the levers of power. So we have to try.
Absolutely. And you've faced, and this is off topic of this, but you've been in the media quite a bit lately.
What have I done?
Nothing lately. No, nothing. And this is the worst thing about it. They're harping back years just to find something. So again, this is part of the establishment trying to discredit people and tarnish people's good character. Would you agree?
100%. I mean, it's been lovely watching all the people come out and support me. Loads of our friends and peers have just been like, no, that's BS. I know him personally. You're lying. This is not reflecting his character, which is a lovely thing to see. But that, again, it's so weird that they have to, go back 8 years or something. Go, 8 years ago he said something I didn't like. Okay, what have I done lately? And the reason is because, of course, we interviewed ex-Prime Minister Liz Truss, who has essentially gone rogue on the establishment, saying, well, look, I was hemmed in by the Bank of England, and I was essentially
he hit it in the nail on the head there. So I think I'll skip it. I might come back to this, but just give me a second. So this is me a year ago discussing this exact thing. So I'm going to skip to here and we'll have a wee review of me being down outside Westminster.
At Westminster, and we've got ITV over there. Apologise for the shaky cam. It is ITV, the cosy relationship that the journalists have with the media. And what is happening to my hair issue? I hear you ask. It has been one of those days. The hair is not working. Neither was I earlier on. So we're back down here at Westminster and just having a quick chat about what's happened with Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng doing the right thing. I'm a bit blind by the sun.
You can see that that's actually breaking up down there. It's almost as like there's interference in the actual live transmission.
I'm going to be moving my hands between this and not actually.
Now, Kwasi Kwarteng is a highly intelligent individual. He's the opposite of Liz Truss and Angela Rayner. Now, the reason they put people who are a bit stupid in is that they'll be more compliant for people who are more intelligent. That's why they bring in less capable MPs. Almost just like doorstoppers.
Not actually got a tripod in this one, so I might be moving about a wee bit in this one.
So Carol Benjamin would be much better in Parliament than Angela Rayner or Jess Phillips or what's her face? Two Left Shoes, whatever her name, Diane Abbott.
Shaky cam. So, I know you're all asking me, why is Liz Truss from actually doing something that was correct to actually now getting pilloried for doing the right thing? I don't know if you saw GB News the other day there, and GB News had the interview with Lawrence Fox and Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump was very successful, and America was in the cut the taxation. So why did it not work? Now, Kwasi Kwarteng is a very intelligent man. He is always comes across very well and knows his stuff. And Liz Truss has also managed to, when she was the trade secretary, get a lot of trade deals. And obviously Donald Trump is saying that he wants to have a zero tariff trade deal with the UK. Obviously Biden being a globalist and following the globalist agenda, he has reneged on that because obviously we left the European Union, which is obviously the globalist project. So why did it not work for Liz Truss? Why was Liz Truss brother, how you doing, Steve? Why was Liz Truss not successful in actually bringing forward this proposal to cut taxation? Well, I think it was a bit sort of cack-handed, and although it was
I would have said that it was a deliberate. It was cack-handedly done, but it was also a deliberate screw up by the Bank of England. So they deliberately changed things economically. Now, years ago, they privatised the Bank of England so that the Bank of England was, I think, almost like a private company. It's a bit like the Fed in the United States. So it's meant to be run along certain lines, but I don't understand what's happened here. Am I in the wrong thing? It's meant to be run along certain lines for it to do, but it's also captured by the globalists. The Chancellor or whatever he is, the head of the Bank of England, is a member of the WEF. So they don't want Brexit to be seen to be working. So that's why the globalists in the Conservative Party, like Rishi Sunak, when everybody's wanting lower taxation and lower immigration, they have inverted that, and Rishi Sunak, who's a shill like Turkey Tama, is a shill for the globalists. And both of them, the Uni Party, are both globalist shill parties. That's why there's not been any reduction in immigration. That's why they've not cut the tax rates, because neither party are going to do it, because neither party want Brexit to work, and they've done the best. We've got the highest taxation in living memory. That's why the Doballs and the SNP are shilling for the globalists as well, and they're increasing taxes because they want to be seen to take your money and spend it whatever way they want to spend it, and on bullshit, basically, on people coming in here and getting hotel rooms while allowing the people to be the indigenous population to be raped and left on the streets. So it's the Labour Party who you're about to vote for that's doing that, and they're facilitating that while moaning about a joke, while on every radio show moaning about a joke. There's the woman with the brown envelopes who got elected because of the brown envelopes and allegedly having an affair with Humza Useless. So I'm just trying to find this. This was all set out in Facebook, muck me up. Twitter, muck me up. I think it's coming. Look at this. If this doesn't sum up the UK, so the guy is holding down the police officer is holding down the Patriot, while the Muslim Islamist is trying to smite at the neck, which is what it says in the Quran to do, and he's holding down the person that's been attacked while the actual Muslim terrorist is killed him. So both these guys are now dead. So the guy that's holding down the victim and the terrorist, the Muslim terrorist, is now dead. So this guy made the total wrong mistake. But does that not just personify Western civilization just now?
That issues they wanted raised weren't raised this weekend. And they've said, well, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you say that? You should have done that. You should have done the other.
Carol's talking about Tommy Robinson event.
And to those people, all I can say is the future belongs to those who turn up for it. If you were simply just sat at home complaining on Twitter, then obviously your input didn't count, because we were talking to each other there and then on the day and doing the best with what we had. Bizarrely, I think it was actually Mongolian conqueror Timur the Lame, one of the most brutal men to have ever lived, who put it best when he said, it's better to be on hand with 10 men than absent with 10,000. Because what that means is, even though the situation might not be perfect...
Yeah, that's not it either. I think we're getting closer. Obviously, Islam again. There's Lilani Dowling. If this is far right, I want to be far right. Beautiful, peaceful, no mass faces. There's a Sikh fella, like his turban, very nice. Haram Singh Kupar, very nice. SNP are the only party that care about giving Muslims a voice. Right, that's very interesting. I think this picture here really sums up what's happening. The cult followers of Muhammad have killed 270 million people. A bit like the SNP murdering your granny when they put people with COVID in care homes. A bit like that. There you go, there's she is there. Is that her real girlfriend? That's her girlfriend. And I think that's his missus, and this is the lavender couple. Where's my camper van? This is the SNP conference. My wife called me a paedophile. That's a big word for a 9-year-old. Oh, there's all the Muslim rape gangs that Angela Rayner covered up. Muslim child rape gangs. Oh my goodness, there's more of them. All over the place, all covered up by the Labour Party. Obviously, you get free flying lessons if you're LGBT plus from the Islamists right off the tallest building. Stoned on the way down, so you free flying lessons and then stoned. Here we go. So this is me back to where I was wanting to show. Here we go. So this is the interview, the famous interview, and this is, I think, the real reason why they were slagged off is because they exposed the Bank of England for their globalist shilling and the taking down of Liz Truss, who would have reduced taxation, which was the right thing to do. What they would have probably had to do was potentially renationalise the bank and stop them having and then having direct political supervision of the banking to not allow the governor of the Bank of England to have interference in the bank.
Connor, you asked what evidence do I have that they were deliberately undermining me? Well, the night before the mini budget, the Bank of England sold £40 billion of gilts. And then we had the LDI crisis, which emerged.
So the Bank of England unilaterally, so they made a crisis to make the reduction because the globalists didn't want to reduce taxation because the globalists wanted to keep taxes high to make Brexit look unsuccessful to the British people and people who voted for it. And that's because the governor of the Bank of England is a shill for the globalists.
Ozzy and I were not told that there was a massive tinderbox waiting if interest rates went up, and everybody knew interest rates were going to go up. The Bank of England then set a very short-term cliff edge.
So all done deliberately to make the politicians look incompetent because they wanted to follow the globalist agenda, and they were obviously Remainers who were upset about getting taken out of the undemocratic EU because they want to shill for the globalists. So you have to take out the governor of the Bank of England and possibly renationalise the Bank of England.
For that issue to be resolved, thereby generating more uncertainty. And if you look at what the Bank of England is meant to do, they're meant to assure financial stability. And they didn't take out...
Which is not what they've done, because they've actually done something deliberately, politically, to destabilise a Prime Minister because they've already sworn allegiance to Baldy Dr. Evil in Davos.
Action that would have done that. They didn't act in support of the government.
Or the Rothschilds.
Which was their job. And then the Office of Budget Responsibility effectively leaked a forecast that was wrong, but it forecast a whole of £70 billion.
So they put out misinformation. So that to me should be a sacking offence for the governor of the Bank of England. What they'll do is just replace one globalist shill with another globalist shill. So so what the Bank of an independent or a privatised Bank of England have done is undermine a Prime Minister, which I believe that Liz is actually correct here. I said at the time as well. So let's go back to me saying what I said.
The right thing to do. They didn't.
Now this is me obviously a year ago, which I've already obviously been one of the first. So that's a year ago. You can see it here. I've obviously been fast off the draw to actually tell you what was happening a year ago.
Executed very well. maybe just the start of a political process, the political process just now, and the fact that they didn't achieve what they were setting out to do, and they got a lot of backlash on it. And because they got backlash on it, they crumbled. You never crumble. You always stick to your guns. But it was cack-handed in the way it was done. What they should have done was cut costs first. There's and especially in Scotland, I think 50% of the economy is based around this. Look at my hair, that's hilarious. That you should just be tuning in to see what my hair does, independently of me talking. What we've got is a burdening state, where the state is far too large, and we're not actually producing entrepreneurs in the same style as we were, and because of the amount of money that's going on for state sanctioned jobs, that then increases taxation, and then affects the growth prospects of the UK. Also stimulates high taxation. So the cutting of tax was correct, but the unfortunate thing for Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng is they didn't cut spending. That should have been priority number one. Now, I think they're now going to cut spending. So how they were going to finance the taxation cuts was through borrowing. So we were robbing Peter to pay Paul there. And it didn't make a lot of sense. So we're actually going to be increasing debt to reduce taxation, then to increase growth. So what should have happened was we reduced public spending, we increased growth through identification of entrepreneurs and being able to finance and give funding to start-up companies, which will then increase growth, which will then increase tax receipts, but also a decrease in the tax rates would also, and a decrease in jobs that don't have to be there in the state, would then increase growth, and you wouldn't have to get the tax cuts through borrowing. You could do the tax cuts through increased growth. Now, the tax cuts might have increased growth as well. So everything that Liz Truss said was correct, and certainly probably a lot better than the tax and spend policies that the Labour Party will certainly bring in, bankrupting the country every time Labour's come in, and I don't see that actually changing. Them sitting at 50% after a few polls. Obviously the globalists under Rishi Sunak and that part of the Conservative Party are going to try and turn the screw so that they can actually get Liz Truss out. Liz Truss is a globalist as well. Liz Truss isn't a Brexiteer. Liz Truss advocated.
I don't know if that's fair now. Maybe I think Liz Truss was a Remainer. I'm not sure if people change their opinions. My opinions haven't changed recently, but Liz Truss seems to be all over the place with her opinions. She started in the Liberal Democrats, and I think she was a Remainer as well. So I'm probably correct, but maybe she's changed as she's got older.
To remain. Rishi Sunak, though, is a globalist, and he's a WEF agent as well. So it was cack-handed the way that they actually did it. So the way that they brought forward the tax cuts, which could have increased growth.
Wow, so interesting seeing how breaky-uppy this is, man. It's unbelievable. That's obviously interference. It's interference when you're down there.
The economy wasn't well thought out. Now, Liz Truss should have actually thought of these policies and the way to structure this in a much better way. I think she was overly eager. Her and Kwasi Kwarteng were overly eager to bring forward the reduction in taxation without actually not costing it, but not actually doing it in such a way where the increase in debt was the only way that they were going to increase growth. So we were increasing growth through our own national debt.
Now, that's not the end of the world, to be honest with you. You can increase debt as you would do yourself to increase your own chances of increased growth. So it's not the end of the world to do it that way, but I'm sure there's other ways that it could be done.
Which is not the best way to actually facilitate the economy. And they were taken to task for that. So Labour brought in the 45 pence tax rate, and them taking away the 45 pence tax rate, I'm sure things are going to get a lot worse. Yeah, and I think you're correct, Steve. I think things will get a lot worse.
Well, it's got a lot worse for Rishi Sunak since he took over, isn't it?
We're jumping out the pot into the fire every time. These people are not the people that will actually develop the country. I think Liz Truss might actually do a not bad job, but Liz Truss unfortunately has presentational problems, although she might actually be competent as somebody who, from a policy point of view, where she brings in the correct policies. But for growth, and that's exactly what we need. If we increase the growth, we increase tax receipts, and other things can be funded on the back of that. So doing the right thing, but in a cack-handed way. Donald Trump on that interview on GB News with Loza Fox said that when he brought in the tax cuts, the economy boomed, and that could, so they don't. I wouldn't trust as far as I could throw her private jet. Exactly. Well, you might not be wrong. As I said, she is a globalist. She is a Remainer, but it's still based on policy. Is she bringing in good policy? She did well with the trade deals. Donald Trump said he would be giving us a free trade deal if he wins in 2024, unlike Biden, which will stimulate both America and the UK. But what Trump was saying on the interview was that when he brought in the tax cuts, the American economy boomed, and that's what happens. Hope springs eternal. Well, it's not. I don't think hope is springing eternal if the fact is that the actions or the policies that you bring in have positive results. It's all about the policies. Are we actually bringing in good quality policies? And the reduction in taxation is a quality policy for everybody. That could have been reduced down gradually over a period of time, with less debt taken on, reduction in public spending, and that policy that would have been brought in. God knows why. I mean, everybody's going to want. It sounds like a plan. And Liz Truss is of the intellect to be that only the higher rate taxpayer could give growth, but it was for her reason was to facilitate the growth. The future. We're going to see the bankruptcy of the UK through. She's got too disconnected, turned, and to turn so quickly into her tenure as the Prime Minister is then going to obviously cause issues for in the future. So she's got too disconnected here. If the Labour, and we've had cripplingly low growth both in the UK as a whole.
Wow, man, I didn't realise I was disjointed. I had definitely thought I had spoke about the Bank of England on the back of that as well. Where the hell did that go? Let's hear.
Kind of a banker's coup against her. And what her plan was to effectively help the regular person in Britain. She wants to lower our.
Yeah, so I'm sure I said this exactly what Carol's saying here a way back about a year ago, and he's completely correct in the fact that the reduction in taxation would have helped everybody, and that would have been stimulating for the economy for growth, and the globalists decided they didn't want to do it because they didn't want the country to be successful, because they're on the agenda, and the agenda is not to help you. The agenda is to get towards one world government, one world currency.
Taxes, oh no, get rid of this woman immediately, said the establishment. Just come out and just told us, no, we're living in a Blairite prison. Like there's this sort of Quango industrial complex in conjunction with the Bank of England, in conjunction with the sort of politicians of sort of Keir Starmer stripe, that are holding this country down and making the British public pay for it all.
Yeah.
And she was trying to break that. Obviously, she didn't know what she was coming up against. They took her out very quickly and installed Rishi Sunak, who's going to carry on with the globalist agenda. But we have to recognise our champions, and she's one of them. You know, she's like, and so like I said, you can see the lines being drawn. But no, I'm actually quite confident, because these are weird attacks that came out of nowhere, and I don't think are actually endearing people to them. It's like, what did he?
And these attacks are not because of what Cal said about 5 or 6 years ago. These are attacks because the interview identified what I'd already spoke about with the Bank of England being involved in the undermining of Liz Truss's premiership and the globalist control of the Bank of England, where they can take out a Prime Minister. So what we have to now talk about is potentially the renationalisation of the Bank of England.
He do? Oh, he interviewed Liz Truss. Well, I'm a Conservative. Liz Truss a Conservative. It's normal that we talk.
Yeah, you're media.
Yeah, exactly. We're media. Why wouldn't we talk? Yeah. And they were
yeah, so they don't want you to talk because it brings light to what they actually did to take her out in the first place. The Bank of England Chancellor, globalist, in this privatised bank, is a monopoly. So it's not that it's got competition. I can't start printing money. Yeah. This is what the interview highlighted. It wasn't the misogyny of a joke. It was the actual underlying reason why. But what they've done is brought more eyes on it. But it was the under reason that the Prime Minister was taken out by the globalist Bank of England and taken out. And that's why the Bank of England probably need to be renationalised and take the globalists taken out of the Bank of England.
This is unacceptable. But the reason they think it's unacceptable is because this would shift the paradigm. Yeah. It would show the Conservatives, actually, you don't have to just get bullied by Sky News or the BBC. You could talk to a sympathetic ear and actually be heard by your base. You know, we're the Conservative base, theoretically. So why wouldn't you want to talk to us?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Look, Carl, good luck with your speech. Brilliant speaking to you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
And Carol is correct. So the main issue and the reason for the attack on Carol Sargon Avakad, if you want to get hold of him, is the fact of the authoritarian, because of the Bank of England and the way that the Bank of England took out the globalists. Let's see this. What are you guys saying? Let's see. Volumes. From the river to the sea, John Parr will be free. Viva Guerillas, I love you, David. Thanks, John Boy. I'm more qualified than the Chancellor, David Ballantyne. Someone told me that funny end of Labour and pure rank. Sounds fishy if you ask me, yes. Candidate does. Welshman, yeah. Gaelic nonsense as usual. What are the signs of what are the signs not also Brythonic, Davy? Get into them. Get into them pirates. Why are the signs not in Brythonic? Davy, get into them. Exactly. Why are they not in Brythonic? Phillips is horrific. Yeah, he certainly is, John. Look at clutching the pearls. Exactly. I think these might be sexual tension between Jess Phillips and Guerilla. I don't think so. He's obsessed. She's frank. She's actually a man-hater. She's definitely a misandrist. What's on the cards for your dinner? Wee cheeky korma, mate. Wee cheeky korma. Davey, you need to slow on the importance of Brythonic and how the pirates, invaders from Greater Scotia, have subjugated the good old people of North Britain. The Britons. I might do one like that. Decolonising Scotland. Wicked wokey wefters. Yeah, that's it, Johnny boy. That's me. That's it, done. I hope you enjoyed that. But I just wanted to point out the reason behind Carol's, again, misdeeds or the reason that they're attacking him is because of the globalist and the globalist control of the Bank of England. I think Carol in this interview got too close to that understanding, how the actual Bank of England, being now that it's privatised, is screwing the economy up, and so that we have to pay high taxes, and now and making up false statistics and actually interfering in politics, which is not their job, to discredit and destabilise a premiership. And that means that you should be nationalised and we should take control of the Bank of England again, and thereby being able to facilitate the cutting of taxes. I hope that made sense. I hope you understood that sometimes the motivation is not what it seems, and this is why Carol has been maligned in the papers again.